Internet of Things, also known as IoT, has generated excitement in recent years, as earlier investment is beginning to pay off, ranging from smart thermostats, driverless cars, wearable fitness devices, and other innovations becoming mainstream. Founder, Open Space Digital Tech, Idemudia Okoje, joins us on the show to discuss how the Internet of Things have changed and improved the way we carry out daily tasks and activities.
So tell me, this whole concept about IoT, Internet of Things, should we be scared?
Well, not really. Like any new technology, even starting from the Industrial Revolution, a lot of things will change. So IoT today is a fad, so we hear it here and there. But like different updates over time, so we're talking computing, we're talking big data, we're talking about cloud, they will help the industry. Of course, the risk is that with the developments, some jobs might need to realign, but generally I think it will help in our productivity.
But you think the IoT is still a fad and it is now grossing over $1 billion in terms of revenue? And
that's globally. So
yes,
if we want to talk globally, great. I still think we're in the early days. So for instance, it's not really mainstream. We hear about driverless cars. Right now we are seeing a growth in wearables, but I think we're still in the beginning. We've not really even scratched the surface, in my opinion.
So you think there are no opportunities for Nigerians yet?
We have opportunities, but not necessarily in the way that we have it in the West. So for instance, I don't see in the next 5 years driverless cars in Lagos anyway. You understand? But our own opportunities are different. So imagine a scenario, and this is a scenario I've told someone, where our houses have sensors, our roads have sensors. You know, we can help. IoT can help in the area of transportation, the area of medical emergency, those interesting sectors. From today, if the private sector and the government come together to work together, but not in the advanced parts like driverless cars.
So you're recommending that we start from the basics?
We need to start from the basics. So let's take, for instance, let's not go far, traffic lights. Our traffic lights, basically they are run by timers. There's no intelligence to it. You know, we just need to even start on simple things. So sometimes with things like Internet of Things, with sensors being at the traffic lights, you can the system knows when there's traffic, there are people building up, and based on that you allow that lane to go, as opposed to just waiting for the timer to go. So at 11 p.m. in the night, there's no traffic anywhere, but you're at a stop waiting for another 2 or 3 minutes to pass. It doesn't make sense. That is where we should start from in terms of Internet of Things. Also in medical emergency and traffic, especially in a city like Lagos and even maybe Abuja, you know, Internet of Things can help us to know effectively divert emergency services and even security services in freer routes to where you've got the danger zone or the emergency spot.
You know, this idea you mentioned that sounds so cool. Do you think it will be expensive to implement?
I don't think so. So when I was leaving school, and that's quite a number of years ago, I remember there was a case in OAU of a group of students who had a project on sensors for traffic lights and measuring the number of cars that pass. They created the product. It wasn't a commercial product, obviously it was a project, but with rudimentary equipment. So we really need to look inwards, in my opinion. We can find it, you know, and taking learnings from economies like India, who just within the last week announced that they built their own first fighter jet, you know, and they're replacing their Russian-made fighter jets. We have to look inwards. We can create these things in this market.
You know, interesting. You just mentioned the OAU project. Every project, of course, starts like that and then it's commercialized. What happens to such projects?
We don't have the ecosystem. So there's a break.
We're building it.
So we've been building it. So there's in my opinion, again, there's a serious disconnect between academia and the real world.
Tell me about it.
I don't know where to start from. I really don't know where to start from. There's a huge gap, and I think we need to bridge it. I don't claim to know the solution today, but we need to begin in terms of research and development. Look inwards into our universities. It's isolated right now. So you hear about students learning Fortran. I have nothing against it. You need to start with the fundamentals, but you need to also prepare those students for the real world, which is where I think we're missing it right now.
The Internet of Things holds significant promise for delivering social and economic benefits to emerging and developing economies.
Ide, I do not want us to lose out in this IoT economy. That's why I think that we must start to think of how we can create those solutions, especially hardware that can fit into this whole IoT ecosystem. What steps do you think we should be taking now?
Some of the hubs are already looking into it. In the area of using renewable materials. And sometimes you see it on YouTube and other media of young Nigerians creating a car with low-end materials or building a house with bottles, and I'm trying to remember 3D printing. Exactly, that's what I was looking for. With 3D printing, literally anything is possible now. Literally, and I already seen some hubs that they are playing around with this technology. Literally, 3D printing will change the face of production forever. We can begin to do that now.
So take us through 3D printing. What are the elements do you need to make that happen?
So you need to obviously design whatever product you're trying
on the computer.
On the computer, there's software that you can use. You need to have your raw materials, probably plastic or metals, different raw materials that work with the 3D printer. And literally with a 3D printer, you can build anything. Anything.
From?
They built a car with a 3D printer. They built guns with a 3D printer. So anything can be built with it.
That is disruptive in nature. Yeah. Let's talk about safety and security with regards to IoT. We just lost the world just lost the first driverless car driver who died recently. Does that signify danger?
There's always a good, bad, and ugly to almost anything. So we will have those instances.
Because the report said that the vehicle didn't understand the truck when it crossed the road. It wasn't sure what it was. That was why it couldn't stop.
So that will come to the argument that anything that man creates is not perfect.
I agree.
So we will always have that. But the problem is we have to try and reduce those cases to the barest minimum. We will always have that. So we need to be careful and try and create a scenario where these products or that are related to Internet of Things are in the safest possible position. For us, again, like I mentioned earlier, I don't see driverless cars as our issue in the near future, but we need to look at the basics. In reality, we'll probably leapfrog, as we always do, other technologies. When Internet of Things comes to maturity, we'll most likely leapfrog. But for us, we should not be confused or try to aim for driverless cars immediately. That's not our need. In economics, it's all about demand and supply. What's the need? What's the demand? We want to get to the office in less than 3 hours. How can we improve it? How can we reduce it from 3 hours to 2 hours, from 2 hours to 30 minutes?
Okay, so looking at the overall picture, how we're advancing, the trends and everything, what are the sort of businesses you can advise young people like you to get into at this point in time?
Okay, so I think we're in a unique phase in our market.
But yet challenging.
Very challenging. That's why we have the opportunity. If it was not challenging, we won't have the opportunity. We need services, products, solutions that monitor and can predict. So any predictive solution is the way to go. So for us, for instance, at Open Space, We are launching a fantasy football platform called Fan Clash. It's riding on the love for football and sports in Nigeria, and based on that, we're predicting the behavior. We're going to be predicting the behavior of people. I'm not going to talk too much about that.
So IoT intelligence, eh?
It's going to be intelligence, and based on that, we'll now work on some other solutions.
Wow! Thank you for being on Tech Trends today.
Thank you so much.
All the best.
Thank you so much.